Welcome back to another episode of the eNVision Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Portillo, joined by my lovely co-host and wife, Lynn Portillo.
Hey guys.
Welcome back to episode 21. We have officially crossed over into the 20s as far as episodes go, and we're super excited to be back. Lynn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It feels weird. Even though we've been off like a week, it feels weird doing this like it's been forever.
It does, so let me address that now. I want to apologize. We want to apologize and say that sorry that there was no episode last week. We mentioned on episode 20 that I was going to be going out on my deer hunt, and our goal was to record out there and then upload a video so we can stay on schedule like we have been. One thing we did not take into consideration, I have no idea why, so you can laugh at us because we laughed at us, is service. It takes a lot of bandwidth, takes a lot of network to be able to upload a video onto YouTube, as well as for us to be able to do our recording. And so when we were attempting it, we realized that we had very to none cell phone service, very little to no cell phone service in our camping spot. And we weren't able to do a recording, so we had to post on our social media that we weren't going to post an episode that week. So apologies on that. We're going to get into the hunting stories here in a second, but I guess I'll go ahead and say that we appreciate your guys' patience and we appreciate your understanding. Now we know, in the future, maybe I have another hunt coming up, and maybe in the future, like for that hunt and future ones, we should just do a pre-recorded episode and then have it ready to go. That way we're still continuous every single week. So we don't foresee any other interruptions this way. We want to continue to do episodes and provide content weekly and be consistent about it. That's something that we're striving to. So again, I said it already, but I want to say it one more time. Apologies and thank you for your understanding as we navigated through some service and technical issues again for my hunt. So yeah. Yeah,
I think that's good. But other than that, I'm feeling good.
Good.
A little tired, but it's been a good couple weeks. Like you said, we're going to be talking about your hunt. So we've been having a good time. How are you feeling?
That has been good. We can go ahead and actually let's do your peaks and valleys, and then I'll go into mine, because really this episode is going to be about my hunt and sharing that story and that perspective on one as myself as an individual, but then having Lynn, having Rhaegar there, having my dad, my in-law, and just overall what I was going into that hunt, my expectations going into that hunt, my hopes and dreams, my prayers for that hunt, how it all transpired and where we're at now. So really, my peaks and valleys are all going to be in the hunt. And so I think it's just better for you to go first, and then I'll go ahead and transition and go from there.
Okay. Well, my peak is also part of your hunt, is being able to be out there with you and Rhaegar. Deer hunting is my favorite type of hunting, so that just being out there in the Ranger, driving around, was my favorite part of the last couple of weeks. My valley would be, I can't think of something really bad. My starter was like almost dead.
Okay,
I had to throw away like half of it. It wasn't dead. Okay, it was actually quite alive. It smelled like a bottle of rubbing alcohol though. So you have to like discard. Normally I like to use the discard, but if I were to use that discard, everything would taste like alcohol. So I had to like throw away everything but a little bit in each of my sourdough starters, and then try to revive them. So the bread I made today, extra sour, but It will get back to normal.
Now, is this the strawberry bread you made? Is that's going to be the super sour one? Okay.
That, and then I just made 3 loaves of bread.
Gotcha.
So it's just, I discarded, then you refresh it, then you discard again. So I use some of the discard for the strawberry bread, and then I revived the starter using some of the discard to create it. And so the other loaves are going to be, they're sourdough. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I was going to say I'm excited to try it, but I can't try it. So
no, you can't.
You're going to have to let me know how it is. Our family's going to have to let me know how it is. But I can see, I didn't smell your starter when we got home, but due to your previous early stages of sourdough making, I can see how that might be an issue where it tastes very, very sour, very alcoholic, if that makes sense.
Like the liquid separates, so it will get gray,
Yeah.
And so it was very gray when we came back.
Wow.
So I had to like mix it, throw it away, try to revive it, toss it. I didn't toss all of it though because I don't like throwing away any discard. But I'm going to get it back to not being alcohol-y, hopefully.
I wonder if you can make it into alcohol.
Probably.
Like if
You could probably
a
take...
lot.
Yeah, I bet you could take that top layer of liquid and it's like... it's with wheat flour, so like beer or wine, like rice wine.
Interesting. I might have to look into that. That's just very. I don't
think you get sick. It's the ones where it's like not strong that it's not good, which is when I first did it. But the stronger it is, it's just more like potent.
More fermented, more potent, as you said. Fair enough. Okay, I mean that makes sense. That works.
I don't know. I mean, you can try to drink it if you want.
No,
and let it
I'm
sit
good.
in there.
I'm good. But I mean, I was just curious because I think, to your point, beer. The yeast that you use to make beer or alcohol for that fermentation. I mean, does your forgive me for being naive, but does your sourdough have yeast now because it's
it's flour?
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, I guess it would be similar to beer, or I guess whiskey sometimes has that too. So I don't know.
I'll have to research that. That actually got me pretty intrigued.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, what else? Anything else on your end?
I think those are all my peaks and valleys. Now we gotta hop into yours because that's the whole premise of everything.
Fair enough. Well, my peaks and valleys, there's many, and I'm gonna go and cover them pretty much all.
Many of both.
Many of both, and I'll pretty much cover all of them, if not most of them, in my story. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and get started. But this past week was something that I'd been looking forward to since I knew that I drew a deer tag for archery back in May is when we found out. And I just been playing all these scenarios in my head, how it was going to go, what it was going to be like. And to make it, I guess, to circle, how do I say this? I got what I was hoping for. Like I was successful in my hunt. I'll go ahead and just throw the spoilers out there now. So, but I was successful in my hunt. So I'm very blessed on that. And I thank God for that. But I think I was more focusing on the what's it called, preparations and the hunt itself and how that was going to go, because there was a lot of different dynamics and a lot of different things
to prepare.
Preparation, but a lot of things to take into consideration. So I guess let me just start from the beginning. I put in for a bunch of different tags in April, May, and I ended up drawing an archery deer tag in Nevada. And it was in Eastern Nevada, which is my favorite unit. I drew my favorite unit in my favorite mountain range, and I was just very, very excited. And one of my friends asked if I was willing to put in with him, or if I was okay with putting in as a group. You can put in as a group for deer hunting. And I had said yes, he wanted to try archery, so we put in together, and we were both successful. That's the way the group hunt works. Is we go in together. They combine our points. I don't want to make it too technical, but basically it's a lottery system. Every single year you don't draw a tag, you get an additional point. And so if you don't draw for 3 years, you have 3 points for 4 years, or you just better
chances.
Yeah, it just increases your chances of being able to draw a tag. So because we had moved to Texas, I was putting in as a non-resident. So I didn't draw anything the last couple of years that we were in Texas. But moving back, those points just transferred to now resident points because I was, putting in as resident again. Well, I had 4 points, and so my buddy had 0. So then what happens is they combine our points. He had 0, I had 4, so a total of 4 divided by 2. We go into the draw with 2 points. That was enough for us to draw the unit that we put in for in Eastern Nevada that I absolutely love. And that was part one. Super excited. I have a tag in my pocket. Now I get to start planning. Now I get to start thinking about what I'm going to do. Prior to the tag, I was already practicing. If you follow us on social media, you may notice that. Or you may have noticed that I'd gone out to the archery range many times. On the weekends, during the weekday, I'd find any chance that I could to go shoot some archery and just get comfortable. So that's the early stage, right? Tag, practice, I was comfortable to 60, 65 yards. I was feeling really, really good. Then towards the end of the practicing, as the season draws near, opening day draws near, I transitioned to more thinking of different scenarios that I could encounter while I'm hunting. Am I going to shoot a deer from above? Am I going to shoot a deer up from below, shooting up? Is it going to be straight? Am I going to be coming out of a tree? or behind a tree am I going to be crouched down on some tall sagebrush and then stand up? So I was practicing all these different scenarios in my head and live, in real life, just trying to anticipate what things would look like. It's funny to do that because it works, don't get me wrong, and it's very, very helpful when your mind sees that you already have some sort of muscle memory to know what you need to do. But the one thing that it doesn't do is portray what a deer will actually do. And so what I mean by that is the deer is obviously moving. The wind is shifting, and the wind is a huge factor, especially in archery. If you get downwind from them or they smell you, there goes your hunt. They bust out and then they don't give you a shot. And so those are the X factors I would say that you couldn't really plan for in my practice. The variables, yeah. That you couldn't plan for as I was practicing and getting ready. But a little bit more about that in the future, in a little bit. Where I want to go from here is the logistics and who was all going. So at first it was a couple people who were going to join from my side, and then from my friend's side he had some people that were going to join as well. But I'm speaking particularly from my side. Lynn was planning on going, Rhaegar was going, and that was the whole thing for me is I wanted Rhaegar to go. One thing that I love about archery is it's in the summer, so it's not cold, and you have a longer season to hunt. You usually get about 4.5 weeks. And you have longer days in hunting versus in the fall and October. So I was like, okay, I want Rhaegar to be a part of my hunt. We have already taken him fishing. We've already taken him duck hunting. We've all taken him shed hunting. We've already taken him hiking. So now I want him to get that exposure. And so I knew going into this hunt, it was going to look completely different than my previous hunts.
Yeah.
But still, I can get a little excited and say, okay, this is, I plan for like if I was going hunting by myself, which isn't a bad thing. But again, you're going to forgive me here if I get ahead of myself and then go back. I get excited about this story because there was just a lot that happened. But, and if there's any questions you have in the meantime or anything, feel free to stop me at any point.
I will.
So anyways, the logistics of it, Lynn, Rhaegar, my dad was able to get time off. My father-in-law's retired and he was willing to go, so he was going. My brother at first was going to go, and then some things happened and his schedule didn't work out anymore, so that was totally fine. So he ended up not being able to go, so it was just us, five? Us five, right? My dad, my father-in-law, Lynn, Rhaegar, myself. And that's just from my side, and then my friend had his side of his family and friends that were helping out. So we get everything loaded, or get everything ready and get it prepped to go on our hunt. Load the truck, got everything that we need to have to get out there. So finally we make our drive, we get out to the hunting unit, set up camp. We actually left at 2. This is actually an important part of the story, so let me backtrack a little bit. We were going to leave Thursday opening day was a Saturday. We were going to leave Thursday as soon as I got off of work, and then it was about a 5-6 hour drive with a baby to our hunting area. Well, once we started loading things, we realized quickly that we weren't leaving on as the original time we wanted to.
But why was that also?
We had some delays because we weren't fully prepped. And when I say fully, when I say we,
procrastination.
me. So there was a lot of things that had happened. I'm not going to make excuses. I just did not plan. I did not prep adequately. Great word. I did not prep adequately to the time frame. And I left things as I normally do in any kind of vacation or any kind of trip for last minute. So it's about 7 p.m. at night at this time. I was like, you know what? It's just not going to work out. Or if we leave now, we're not going to get there until like 2 a.m, and then we're going to have to set up camp at night. Lynn was already not liking the idea because of that, and then with the baby. So I said, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's put everything in, into the truck, load everything, make sure we have everything. Let's go to bed early and let's just sleep around 2 a.m. She said, yeah, that works just fine. So that's what we did. We got everything loaded, went to bed, woke up, picked up my in-law, picked up my dad. And then we left around 2:05, I think is when we left the last house. It was still good. And Rhaegar slept most of the way, which was beautiful. It was perfect. Anyways, we arrived Friday morning, set up camp during the day. We got our favorite camping spot and our favorite campground. So things are just lining up perfectly, and I'm just very, very excited to be out there. My buddy then shows up with his family. We all unload, we get set up, and then we start, we scout early in the morning. We did, because we beat them there by a couple hours. And then when they arrived, we helped them, and then we scouted the afternoon. the evening for then our hunt the following morning, being opening day the following morning. And so then here's where everything starts getting more interesting, and this is just like the meat and potatoes of the story. So before I go forward, Lynn, is there any questions or anything that I missed that you think I should cover?
I don't think so. It's just a different experience, like finding our scheduling with having a baby going on these hunts, because we can't just drive and leave at a moment's notice. So we left when Rhaegar was sleeping at his prime time, because coming back we didn't leave at prime time, and that's also a different
that's a different story. I mean, there's just so much that's not, and I promise you I'm trying to give you the condensed version, and I'm working to not repeat myself or get too far ahead of myself. But again, like I said, this is right now and probably will forever be one of my top 3 favorite hunts of all time. And right now it is my favorite hunt. It's just, there's just so much that happened, and it's being in a different, being on a different part of my journey as a father and in fatherhood, and having my son there, my family there. It was just a whole completely different feeling. So appreciate you and your patience through this. But so we scout, we find some deer. We're like, okay, this is the area that I want to hunt in the morning. We all agree to it. We're going to get up early, head up to the spot, show up about 30 minutes before shooting time, and then that way we can kind of glass and see if we can still find them, and then go from there. So that was the game plan. We went back to camp, went to bed. I'm all excited. I could sleep a little bit, but I woke up a couple of times in the middle of the night. I was just super excited and ready to get going. And so finally the alarm went off. My alarm went off, and we all woke up and got ready. And Rhaegar did really well.
Early
he got up and he was all excited. He had some energy in him. So we're like, cool, it's going to be a great hunt. And so I would love for you, once I get to this part, to give your perspective on how it was being a glasser, being a like a guide essentially, and then more importantly, working through those things with Rhaegar, and how your experience was, because our experiences were completely different. So the first 2 days, Saturday and Sunday of the season, Lynn was off. It's the weekend, so she's off. She couldn't get the time off because of scheduling conflicts with her work. But she works remotely, so she was able to get the okay to work from a hotel in the town near where we were hunting. And so that's what we did. We knew that we were going to hunt Saturday and Sunday out in camp, and then Sunday night we would transition to a hotel. And then we would, she'd work, and then I'd still hunt if I needed to through the rest of the week. My dad and my father-in-law would help out with Rhaegar, and that was kind of the game plan there. But knowing that Lynn was there Saturday and Sunday to be with me and to be with Rhaegar and just be with all of us together, I knew that I could have more of the style of hunting that I'm used to, which is spot and stalk, right? You're glassing deer early in the morning, or whatever animal you're hunting, you're glassing them early in the morning. You're seeing where they're going. You start coming up with a game plan of which way you're going to go, how you're going to approach, especially with archery, and how you're going to close the distance. And so that's what happened. In the morning, we found the deer. We found a nice bachelor group of 3 and a really nice buck, like really nice buck. Probably it would be the biggest buck. It would be the biggest buck I'd taken to date. And so I was like, okay, we're going to go after that one. My buddy's like, hey, you go first. This is his first time archery hunting in a long time. So he's like, you go first. Let me just observe how you do it. And then, I'll go from there. And I said, all right, perfect. So my dad and I went together. We dropped down the hill or down the mountain. And then we kind of work our way up from one mountain, work behind it, and then work behind or across it from the backside. And then we're going to pop up right above. Not right above, we were actually a lot above from where those deer were at. And Lynn and everyone stayed down there. They were glassing them with the spotting scope, and she was, radioing me, letting me know, hey, they're still there or they're moving. She was just kind of giving me the play-by-play so I could know what to do. Well, we put these deer to bed, as we say, which is basically, you have them, watch them where they lay down, and then just kind of keep an eye on them from there. So it took my dad and I about an hour and 10 minutes, about that time frame, to get to where we were above the deer. And we just sat there and glassed for a while and seeing if they were going to come out to feed again. They weren't. So then Lynn's like, hey, I can see them. They're bedded. Just kind of start making your stock. And let me pause here because I got ahead of myself pretty quickly. So where I was going with that is, for my style of hunting is I see them, I spot them, then I go hike at them, and I'm hunting, going after them pretty quickly, going pretty aggressively, and trying to close the distance as quickly as possible. For this case, Lynn stayed down, like I mentioned, with everyone glassing and all that good stuff. So my dad and I are up at the top. She tells me, hey, They're down below you. I don't know, maybe she didn't give me a distance, but at that time I would say like 500 yards, 400 yards below me. So she goes, you see the trees right there, go down those trees, they're somewhere in the middle, and these are all the lessons learned that we'll talk about at the end. But I think we both learned on better ways that we can communicate for future hunts, where she could just give me more clear directions, or I could ask better questions, because it just helps out so much better if you know how to properly communicate while you're in that kind of environment. Anyways, so I go down and I leave my dad, by some trees. I was like, hey, wait for me here. I was going to tell him to go down and follow me once he saw me go into the trees, just kind of stay at the top of the tree line and just wait for me there. That way I didn't have to hike all the way back up in case I missed or I needed my backpack. But I didn't do that. I left my dad above me and I said, okay, I'll be back. Just kind of wait here. So then I start crawling down, make it down to the tree line. And then I tell Lynn, I'm like, hey, are they still there? She's like, yep, they're still bedded. Just, I got an eye on them. Just start working your way down, go more to the right. So I start doing that. And then I walk maybe another 150, 200 yards down. And here was my mistake. I should have sat down and waited, and I should have sat down and glassed. I got very impatient. I sat a little bit, glassed a little bit, looked around a little bit, didn't see anything, kept walking. And I did that for the whole way down. Well, at one point, Lynn radios me. She's like, hey, the buck's looking up. I think he's looking at you, but he can't see you, so just be careful. And I was like, okay, thank you. And so then I shut off the radio. That should have been my cue right there to just sit down and wait, or take off my boots and then slowly stalk my way down.
Stocking shoes.
Put on my stocking shoes and slowly stalk my way down. Well, actually, my stocking shoes were in my backpack above me.
Oh, man.
So
Mistake number 2.
That was mistake number 2. So technically mistake number 1. So then I go, continue walking. I kid you not, I probably take 5 more feet or go 5 more yards. And I just see a shadow get up, and then I see a tail, I saw the antlers of the deer that I was chasing just kind of go to the right, and then they dropped down, and then I saw them shoot left. And then Lynn's like, they busted, and I was just like, how? I was like, the wind, they didn't see me. I don't know what happened. And so then I sat there and I analyzed it or thought about it, and I realized that, no, I think that they did wind me. But then not only that, I think that I just rushed into where they were at. They were probably 40 yards below me, but I could not see them. And so I was just looking for any angle to try and find them. And then that didn't happen. And I just kind of rushed the process instead of sitting down, and then they busted me out and they left. So that was lesson learned, number 2 or number 1, whatever you want to call it there. But it was just exciting. It was exciting to be able to put on a pursuit like that for an animal and be super close. Big ones. Be super close, be in high altitude. It just gets me super excited, and it's what I live for and what I enjoy really doing. And so all of that, I know, like I said, I gave the condensed version, but that was about 5-6 hours total worth of time, because my dad and I took our time. We sat up there, had lunch a little bit. We knew those deer were there because Lynn was watching them, but we had lunch, we chatted, we sat, we talked, all that good stuff, and then we started working our way towards them. But Lynn, from your perspective, how was that kind of hunting with Rhaegar now?
So it's very, very different. As Alex said, it was like 5 to 6 hours. So I am watching the mountain, keeping an eye on these deer while also entertaining a 1-year-old. In an open area with just sagebrush and a ranger and nothing else. So it was very difficult. I definitely have to say it was fun. I mean, he was happy. He didn't get upset at all. But, it's a lot with having a baby running around. He's wanting to grab everything now. He's super active. He's playing with rocks, so I have to keep an eye on his mouth. He's trying to eat plants out there, which...
Picked up a grasshopper?
I don't think there's any poisonous one. Yes.
A cricket?
No, it was a massive grasshopper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he grabbed a huge grasshopper. He just grabbed it right off the ground like it was a toy. So it was really fun. He was getting dirty. His socks were covered in every possible plant, pokey things, so I had to keep cleaning off his socks. I would have the tripod up with the scope, so I'm looking, and I just let him hold on to it, and so I'm just bearing down on the scope so it wouldn't move, so I could keep an eye on the deer for you. So it was an adventure for sure. It was helpful having other people there so they could be like, oh, try looking over here. They were able to give me some direction to phone Alex with if I was like holding Rhaegar or trying to watch him like running around. He is climbing now, so he was trying to climb on the Ranger a lot, which was really funny and scary all at the same time. So it's just multitasking really.
Yeah.
Like what I do in my everyday with him, but on a more extreme level because we don't have anything out there to entertain him. I had a Binky and a little bison toy.
Yeah.
That was pretty much his toys out there because it's dirty. It's, he's just going to throw them anyway. So I didn't think, you'll find some rocks. You'll figure out things to play with.
Yeah.
So it was just, I wanted to help you as much as possible, but I also had to maintain the mom role and corral our child.
Yeah.
He's insane right now.
And
It's just fun.
I'll go ahead and say it now, but she did that that was just Saturday for 6 hours. And I think hunting hours wise, we were able to hunt for like 13, 14 hours. So that was just half the day that she did that. And that doesn't include him at one point getting tired and needing to take a nap and then putting him to sleep.
And so out there.
For sure, Lynn's experience is way different than mine the first 2 days. But I want to say thank you, and I appreciate that because it made me so happy. Like I would glass down and I would see them, and Lynn's there playing with him, or she'd send me pictures when we both had some service, and he's just like playing on the Ranger, standing up on it, or climbing on it, and you can just tell that he was just having a lot of fun. Rhaegar just loves to be outside, and that's one thing that we're very happy that he just enjoys being outside. So it was just a different experience, and it was really cool because we had his baby seat, his car seat on the Ranger, and he would just sit on it, which perfect, right? Well, obviously we have to do that too, but to be, I guess, legally in compliance. But it just worked out way better than what I would have originally thought. Because I think being outdoor people and just when you're out on the hills, you're like, you don't need a car seat, like I'll just hold them.
Yeah.
But no, having that baby seat there
so nice.
Was super convenient because he would just he would see the breeze, and there was a couple of times where we were just driving around, it was downtime, it was too hot to hunt. It was like that middle part of the day where you shouldn't really be hunting or pushing deer, so we would just come down from the mountain, grab some lunch, and then just drive around and explore different areas. And he's just kind of sitting in the back, looking around, and the breeze is blowing through his head and through his face, and he's just having a good time. He loved it.
But you guys, that kid can fall asleep on the roughest of roads. Like that, he fell asleep more on the bumpiest roads ever. Like when we were driving up, he'd pass out, or going down when the hunt was at the end of the day. Oh my gosh. I'm holding his little head like this, and it's just going boop, 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 boop. Passed out every time. When it was like the afternoon, that hot time, if he needed to nap, I was like, let's get him in the Ranger, because I don't know what it is. I obviously don't rock him hard enough because, afraid of shaken baby syndrome. I don't know how that Ranger ride didn't give it to him because that thing's so bumpy with the rocks, but he was sound asleep every time, and that is the best rocker in the whole world. I was just so impressed.
Yeah, I honestly think it's the bumpiness of the road. It just kind of soothes you. Because when I wasn't driving and we were in my buddy's Ranger versus ours, I caught myself just kind of dozing off, and I was just like,
too,
yeah.
So it's like more protected.
It was more comfortable. It was definitely comfortable, and so I caught myself dozing off a couple of times, and then I woke up. I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be hunting. But
it's peaceful out there.
It is.
The best naps ever, I bet you had up there.
Oh, yeah. When I was with my dad up there, I took a picture and I sent it to them. But we were on top of the mountain and we're laying under a tree, and I took a picture basically like from my waist down, and you can just see my boots, and then just this beautiful, beautiful scenery, countryside from where we were at, and it's just very hard to just be sad when you're up there. At least for me, it's just very hard to be sad and not be happy. And so I was just enjoying it and living in the moment, but super, super happy. So I'll continue. And Sunday, for lack of repetition, Sunday was the same kind of thing. Well, I guess backtrack a little bit. So I didn't get that deer that time.
Oh, it's different actually. Sunday morning was very different for me.
Okay, so we'll go into that in a second. Oh, yeah. And you can explain that. But Saturday evening, I put a stock on another one. It didn't pan out. I wasn't successful. I could not close the gap past 80 yards. And again, I'm not comfortable past 60, 65 right now. So I couldn't close the distance. They winded me. They took off. So that was 2 failed stalks on day 1. But it was still good. We were seeing them. I was, getting into them. I was giving it a shot. So I was very, very happy. Sunday, for me, it was pretty much the same thing. We found them in the morning. I put another stalk on them, this time with my buddy. And we saw them early in the morning. But then they were crossing to the other mountain, so we think we spooked them, or we started pushing them out of the mountain range because we were kind of we were pressuring them since they kept on running into us. So we tried to find them in the morning. We couldn't find them. I lied. We found them in the morning. We went after them. We found them again, but they were like at 200 yards, and so no way we can get a shot from there. So we tried to close distance, and then we feel like they went into some thick timber. And dropped low, basically going on to the other big mountain. And so at that point, we kind of waited for another, hour, 2 hours. They didn't come out. We didn't see them. So we hiked it out of there, and we were going to regroup and do a different game plan for that Sunday evening hunt. So in total, I did 3 big spot and stalks. Sunday afternoon was more of a, hey, let's regroup. Let's figure out what we're going to do for tomorrow. And then that's kind of where I'll pause right now because I want you to give your perspective from Sunday morning. But Sunday was very much similar to Saturday for me, and kind of style of hunting that I'm used to, getting after it, spotting them, getting after it, and then going into it. But from your perspective, why was Sunday different?
So Rhaegar did great the first day. He woke up at 4. He was ready to go hunting, but Sunday he was worn out. So he was not ready to get up when Alex was ready to get up. So we decided to stay at camp, just me and the baby by myself there. And he didn't wake up until 6:30. But I'm alone at that point with Rhaegar at a campsite because everyone else is up there hunting. And we mentioned we had no service. So Rhaegar's up. I get him ready. It's about 7 at that point after he drank and was all ready, and now I had to get ready. So we walked down to the bathroom. I'm doing my first workout of the day because I didn't get to do it going up there with them either. So I have to be responsible with doing my 75 hard challenge stuff still. So I'm walking, the bathroom's way down. This is the campsite that has actual bathrooms, and they're very nice. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to go down there. So I'm carrying him, walking far down to the bathroom, walking back, just exploring, picking some elderberries and rose hips and currants because there was a currant bush. It was so cool. I accidentally ruined the batch I got because I obviously don't know how to prep them. So we're going to have to go back out so I can get more elderberries so I can properly make a jam. You should not blend them, I've learned. That was a mistake. But that was what I was kind of doing with my morning. And then it got to the point where is everyone? What do we do while we wait for someone to come get us? Because they have the Ranger up there. I just have the truck. And I do have a hiking backpack. So I was like, I guess I could drive the truck over there and hike up there. But that would be really hard. And I have to wait 3 hours for a workout. So I was like, not gonna do that yet if that's a result. So I have a baby at a campsite. It's getting hotter and I don't know what to do because I don't have anything. So I decided to drive the truck around because that's when you see the most deer anyway. At this point it was about 8 and we have the car seat in the Ranger. So we're on a dirt road, so it's legal. I have Rhaegar in the front seat with me, sitting in between my legs, and we're just casually driving. I have the window down, he's leaning out looking, and we're going slowly down a dirt road, driving looking for deer. We see a Forky and a doe the first trip down, and I go all the way out to get service. I keep driving as far as I can to find cell phone service, and then Rhaegar starts freaking out because at this point he'd been awake for 3 hours almost. And I'm just driving around, and when a baby's throwing a tantrum in a car like that, it's very dangerous. So I had to pull over, feed him in the front seat, trying to send a text message. It didn't go through, so I was like, well, I'm just going back. And then at that point, Rhaegar was fussy. I needed this car seat so he could rock himself to sleep. Every car noise I heard. I'm like, oh, is that my dad with the ranger? No. I talked to the nice guy who was in charge of the campsite though, and he's like, I'm so glad you're getting your boy out here. That's what makes him good. We gotta teach him what's right in this world. I'm like, yeah, it's been a blast. Over here dying, like holding him after like 3 hours of trying to calm my fussy baby. And then like a half hour after that guy drove by, I heard another sound. And I'm like just letting Rhaegar roam. And I'm just following him at that point around the campsite. I took him in the river to plunge a little. Let him eat a bunch of currants off the bush. So he had a nice poop after that one. Oh my gosh, that was a mistake. And then I see my dad, and I like run with Rhaegar. I'm like, you're saving us! So it was about 9:30 so 3 hours from when he woke up. It seems like not that long considering what I was doing the day before, but the fact that he was fussy, I had nowhere to go, there was nothing to do with him at that campsite. It was a lot harder because I was just tired and alone too, and they had all the food with them. Almost all the food, so it was like nothing I could really eat with him. It was a long morning.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, I've never driven with holding my baby in the thing. And I was able to back up the truck fine, still with him in the front seat. But it was nice when my dad came up. We put him in the car seat, drove all the way back up to the top, got to hang out at the mountain. And then from there, you can take it from there because then my day changes a little more because we go into town.
Yes. Well, that was Sunday night. So then Sunday, my buddy and I, like I mentioned, we hunted in the morning while Lynn was down at camp and my father-in-law picked her up. We were still up on the mountain. Then we came down when we realized that these bucks had probably dropped off and gone to the other mountain. So like, you know what, let's go down and regroup. And so then that's what we did. We started scouting, kind of figuring out what we're going to do the following day, what the game plan was. Scouted some different areas, saw some other bucks. We're like, all right, cool. There's still some more opportunity. We'll go from there. I put a stalk on a Forky, and I got him in at 80 yards. When I got to about 75, they dropped off or went up to 100. I closed that distance back to 80, and I could not get any closer than that. And then they busted up to the top of the mountain. They could not wind me, which that was super cool. The wind was perfect in my favor. It was 3 does and a buck in this herd, and the does would just they would block the buck's body, basically blocking his vital parts, which I think they do that on purpose because animals are smart.
Sure, yeah.
And so then they would just huff. They would go like. And you could tell that they were trying to win me, but they could not win me. So they were getting frustrated, and then they would just go, and then they'd walk up a little bit and then go again. And still could not win me. So eventually they just kept on hiking up, and they're like, screw this, we're getting out of here. They got higher, and then I think they saw my silhouette, because even from the top, they were just like, still couldn't win me. So then they got frustrated, and I just kind of dropped off on the backside. I tried to put a stalk on them as they were coming down. I think they saw me, and then they just kind of went up higher, shot over to the side of the mountain, and then just dropped down really, really fast. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to continue pushing them. Let me just leave them alone, and then maybe they'll come out in the evening. Well, we hunted the rest of that afternoon, saw a 3x3 while we were going by, while we were driving. I jumped out, tried to put a stalk on him. Same thing that happened to me on Saturday happened to me Sunday night. It was at lower elevation. I go and I follow him, and I think I had him probably at 60 yards, so it was, a doable shot for me. And I saw him, but he was in between some thick trees, and I could not get a shot. And so again, instead of just sitting patiently and waiting to see if he came out or seeing what he would do, I tried to find my angle and try to be sly and slick and try and like army crawl to the next bush. At this point, I can't remember if the wind shifted or if he saw me, but all I see is he just starts bouncing. Like I just see him like bouncing. And once you see them bounce, you know that they're gone. They're not going to stop.
Oh yeah, they're so
and
fast.
So he was bouncing and he took off. And so I was like, oh, well, there goes that stock. So then I go back to the ranger and we regroup. We're like, okay, I think we have some good areas that we're going to hunt in the morning. Let's just call it a day. And so we go back to camp. We knew that we had to go to the hotel that night because Lynn had to work the next day.
Oh yeah, I was packing up half of camp while I was there in the morning too.
Lynn was packing up, and then we show up, throw everything in the truck, go into town, check into the hotel, get some dinner, and then what did you want to mention there? You said,
just that my dad and I and Rhaegar went into town during your hunt Sunday afternoon,
yes.
like morning, afternoon,
yes.
because he was like, well, I'm just going to stay up here all day. So we were like, well, we need gas, and I think it would be good reset for Rhaegar. So we actually, even though he took me up a couple hours after being up there, we decided to go back down, and we drove into town, and we were there for a couple hours and got like some fresh fruit because Rhaegar loves fruit and some food. We brought you a chicken.
No, that was Saturday. You guys went in town Saturday because it was my dad and I who were hunting. When it was my buddy and I, you guys didn't leave. My dad had to drive down.
No, I sat with your friend up there the whole time. I think it was Sunday.
No, it was Saturday because my dad came off the mountain to give you the keys.
Oh, really?
And then go back up.
Gosh, those days were long.
Yeah, it was Saturday. You guys went to town Saturday.
Oh, well, we had to get gas for the Ranger because that was forgotten in the procrastination of packing.
Yeah.
So, we got some fresh fruit and stuff. Oh, okay. I guess that was Saturday.
So then we go into town.
That was a lot.
We go into town, get dinner, check into the hotel, get settled in. The next day, this is where the story gets a little bit more interesting, complicated, fun, whatever you want to call it. All of those emotions, really all of the above. That night, I knew things were about to change. I knew Lynn is no longer with me. My dad can watch Rhaegar. My father-in-law can help watch Rhaegar. But I knew that the hunting was going to be completely different now. So what I did was Monday morning, I said, okay, I woke up. At the time that we were supposed to get up, I start getting ready, and I look at my dad. I'm like, "Are you coming?" And he goes, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll go." I look at my father-in-law, and he's like, "Are you coming?" And he's older, and he got tired those 2 days, and so he's like, "Actually, I'm going to sleep in. I'm going to help out Lynn with Rhaegar." Well, let me backtrack. I was getting ready to wake up Rhaegar because he had to go because Lynn had to work. And so then I think that's when my father-in-law noticed, and he's just like, hey, if he's still tired, if he's still sleeping, let him sleep. I'll stay in the hotel and help watch Rhaegar. Mm-hmm. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, that's totally fine. And I said, okay, well, I'll just hunt in the morning, and then I'll drive back, around 10, and then pick you guys up, and then we'll come back out, and then we'll hunt the evening together. He said, all right, sounds good. So that's what we did. I knew that I had one more, morning of a hard hunt, which selfishly, I was hoping to get that. And so the fact that Rhaegar wasn't there made me sad. And in my head, I was like, hopefully I don't get something right now because I wanted him. The whole point for me, one of the biggest goals for me was for Lynn and Rhaegar to be there and to be able to take the picture with me and to be able to help me, field dress the deer and get the meat all prepped and ready to go. And so part of me was just like, hopefully I don't get something right now because Rhaegar's not here and it's going to make me sad. But part of me was just like, no, I want to get my deer. Like, that's why I go to hunt, right? I want to go and get that big one. So Monday morning, same thing. We hiked, we hit up those different spots, glassed them, found them in the morning. We'll put a stock on them. Couldn't close a distance. And so that wasn't successful. We came back into camp. I grabbed the truck. At this point, I go pick up Rhaegar and my father-in-law. Get to the hotel. Lynn's still working. My father-in-law wants to stay, so I just grabbed Rhaegar, and then it was just my dad, myself, and Rhaegar. And so we go back out, hang out we ended up keeping the camp spot. That way we had a place to park, and we were going to be there in the afternoons anyway. So we're like, you know what, let's just keep it. So that's what we did. We went back to that camp spot, hung out for a couple, an hour or two. And then I looked at my dad. I was like, you know what, let's just go drive around. And this was at the point where I knew hunting was just going to change. Like I knew that I could, because, obviously I trust my dad and my dad is good with Rhaegar. I think Rhaegar loves my dad more than he loves me. But, I knew that he was going to be in good hands. I just felt, weird I felt weird pushing Rhaegar to go on really hard hikes. Mm-hmm. in a selfish way. So I was like, you know what, let's just not do that. I knew my style of hunting at that point was going to switch to more road hunting and easier hikes or low elevation hikes. So I was okay with that. I said, you know what, at this point, I gave a shot to a couple big bucks. I got closer than I've gotten before. I had some really great opportunities. I've seen deer this entire time. Like at this point, I was just praying to God, if I can just fill my tag, get me a buck, put a buck in front of me that is legal, that I can shoot and have a clean, ethical, quick kill. And then, we can go from there because Rhaegar is going to be there and my dad's here. And it's just, sadly Lynn wasn't there, but selfishly again, this hunt wasn't about Lynn. This hunt was about Rhaegar for me. And so if she could be there, great. If she couldn't be there, as long as Rhaegar was there, that's really all I wanted. So we're driving, probably drove about an hour and a half. We went up to where we originally hunted. We dropped down, went around, all the bottom hills, went back up, went to a different area, didn't see any, came back. And then as we're coming back, we go hit a different road. And I was like, you know what? Let's just go hit this side. And so then we go up to this backside of a mountain, and as we're climbing up, my dad goes, deer. And so I, hit the brakes. And there's a set of Quakies next to a creek, a couple yards off the road, and that's where they were. He sees a doe, I see the doe, and then there's another deer below that doe, but just with its head down, and so we couldn't tell what it was. And so as I'm trying to glass and trying to see what it was, I see a third deer pop its head up. And my dad and I look, and we're like, okay, that's a fawn, that's a doe. My dad's like, I think that's a buck, I see an antler. And so then sure enough, the deer raises its head and looks back at us and chewing. And I just see the antler and I was like, buck. And I just immediately, I had already ranged the doe and she was at 18 yards and he was she was at 20 yards and he was a little bit below her. So I was like, all right, my 20-yard pin, he's at 18. So then I jump out of the ranger.
And that's really close, just for reference of archery. That's a close deer. It
is. So I jump out of the ranger. I, get off to the side of the road and then I draw my arrow back, pull back, anchor, put my pin on it, and then shoot my bow or release my arrow, and you just see that thing go, you just see the arrow go right through the deer, starts running downhill. I start getting, I get some adrenaline, I'm starting getting emotional because I knew it was a good hit. I knew that I got that deer, and I got emotional. I started crying because everything that I had prayed for was happening. My son was literally right there. I kid you not when I say that as I was drawing back, I look over slightly and I can see him looking at me, and he's seen me shoot my bow many times, so you can see that he probably knows what I'm doing. He can't see the deer, but he knows what I'm doing. And so I look over, he sees me, I'm anchored, I'm drawn, I see, I have the deer in my sight, I let go of my arrow, and then, again, a flood of emotions just hit me because I was just so happy that everything that I was praying for happened. So my dad gets out. He said, I saw the deer go that way. We put Rhaegar in his backpack. I grabbed my backpack. We parked the ranger off to the side, and then we start hiking after this deer. As soon as we cross the creek, you just see my arrow sticking out on the side of the hill, and it's just covered. And I was like, okay, it was definitely a good hit. And so pick up my arrow, put it in my quiver, and it's perfectly intact. Didn't break anything. I was super happy about that. We hike up, and we're not seeing a lot of blood trails. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I started doubting myself a little bit. I'm like, did I hit it too far back? I was like, there's no way I hit it too far back. This arrow is just covered. It's covered in blood. I know it was a good hit. And my dad's like, I didn't see him go up. I was like, okay, so he must have stayed low. So then my dad found some blood splatter, and then my dad found some more, and then I found some more, and then we just kept on following the trail. And he was about 70 to 80 yards to the left of us. He just stayed low, and then he died over, like I said, 70 yards away from us. And so then we go, and I'm again emotional. I pick up my deer, super excited. Rhaegar's there. We take him off of his backpack. He's touching the antler. We both, drop down and we give God thanks for giving us the ability to harvest this deer. We thank the deer for his life, so he can provide for our family and so he can feed our family. And so it's just a very, very emotional moment. I'll just address this now. I know that not a lot of people, people have their opinions, and that's totally fine. I'm proud to be a hunter. I do not I do not. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm an unapologetic hunter. Like it's what I do. It's what I love. I enjoy being out in the field. Enjoy sharing this experience. It was an ethical hunt, ethical kill. I enjoy doing this with my son and with my family, and I'm just unapologetic about it. So there's that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I know I went into some detail with how the hunt went. But again, I'm not going to apologize for it. So I was just very grateful that we were able to have a successful harvest. We were able to have a successful hunt. Rhaegar was there. He's touching picking up the deer with me. We're taking some pictures. We start quartering it. He starts helping me. I'm explaining things as I'm going through it. And it was just such a surreal moment for me, because everything, like I said, everything that I had prayed for, everything that I was hoping for out of this hunt happened. I put up some stalks on some big deer. I learned some different things about archery hunting, gained more wisdom in archery hunting. My son was there, my wife was there, my father was there, my father-in-law was there, my friends were there. Okay, overall, it was just such a cool, amazing hunt for me. A lot of emotion, a lot of happiness, a lot of sadness, a lot of frustration, a lot of crying, there's just a lot of happiness, a lot of emotion. And so I know I threw a lot there at the end, but that's how it went. All of that is my peaks and valleys for the week, and just overall. I guess to end the story really quickly, this we got the deer towards the end of the day, so I'm trying to field dress it as quickly as possible, put it in some game bags. We get back off to the road. I go grab the ranger, pick up my dad, pick up the deer, go back to camp. We start loading things up because we knew that we would most likely leave the following day once Lynn got off of work. And so that's kind of what we did. We loaded everything up. We didn't have any plans of going back to there. We would just hang out in the hotel. So then we got back to the hotel around 9-ish?
Yeah, it was late.
It was late, 9-ish.
Yeah, I'm just in the hotel waiting because I get off at 5, so I didn't get a call or text from him until like 8:30.
Yeah.
Is when I was like, they had to have gotten something because this is so late and I hadn't heard from them, so I'm just like in the room waiting.
And that's the other thing. As it was getting darker, because we have no service, like we mentioned already, there was no service where we were hunting, or barely any service depending on where you were at. So in my head, Lynn's already a worrisome person as it is. And I have Rhaegar. She's not there. We're hunting. No cell phone service. I can only imagine the things that could have been going through her mind, because they would have gone through my mind. And so as I see it getting darker, I was like, we need to hurry. So I was telling my dad, like, we gotta go. And so my dad was watching Rhaegar as I was field dressing the deer. And we throw everything into the truck. Break down the little bit of camp we had left, throw everything in the truck, and then we start heading out. And so when I called her, that's the first thing I said. I was like, hey, I apologize that I'm calling you a little bit later. I don't know if you were worried or not. She's like, no. She's like, if it was any, like, maybe another hour, I would have been freaking out. She's like, but you're fine. Like, I figured you guys got something. Did you get something? And I was playing it off because I was sending her a picture, and I was wanting to hear her reaction when she saw it. So it just took a while for the picture to send because of the service, but eventually she got it, and then she was just very excited. She was happy. She congratulated me. My father-in-law congratulated me because he didn't go for that hunt, but for that part of the hunt, I should say. But overall, I've said this already, so I'm just not going to repeat it so much more. But yeah, I was just very blessed and very happy on that hunt. It was just a lot of happiness and a lot of different emotions.
It was so awesome that you were able to get... This is his second deer ever, and second time archery. So he's only ever harvested big game with archery, which is super cool too. I think that's something you could humbly brag about. That I'll brag for you, because archery is hard.
I don't know if it's a humble brag, because I've had maybe 6 archery tags, so I'm 2 for 6.
That's okay, because you still got it. But even just getting anything archery is really good.
One of them is my elk that I still cry about.
I know, but archery is really hard though, you guys. You have to get so much closer. I'm a rifle hunter. I'm good at that. I've always been a good shot. I'm quick on my feet and stuff. But archery, you have to have so much more patience, and you have to go, like he mentioned, like go slower. Just sit there and wait. So the fact that even though it was kind of like a road hunt on both of them, it's still really hard. The fact that you got it 18 yards. Crazy close too, because his first one was like 40 yards.
It was like 35.
Yeah, but that's just it's really cool I think it's cool that you've been able to get both of them archery.
Yeah, and like I said, this buck he's not a trophy by what many people would consider a trophy. Mm-hmm. He's literally a spike. He's got one antler on both sides, and one of them's a lot shorter. Still a legal buck, but to me, he is a trophy because of the story that hunt holds, the story that those antlers hold. My son was there. My son helped me through the whole process. My son helped me even when we got home and finished processing the deer and putting it in our, not freeze drying it.
The freezer?
No, what's it called? Vacuum sealing the deer, putting it in the freezer, grinding, doing the ground deer and grinding some of the meat for burgers and stuff. Like, he helped me with that. He helped me, I was helping him. Okay, I was helping you. I had the blade, and I had his hand underneath mine, and we were both cutting it. But he was helping me. He was a part of the process. I know I'm probably going around in circles, but this hunt was so special to me as a father. I'm so grateful to be able to share this experience with my son, with my wife. Luke Combs came out with an album, and I mentioned this already. He came out with an album called Sons and Fathers, I think is what it's called. But it's basically all the songs are about him now that he's a father, that he has a baby boy. All the lessons that he's learned, his perspective, different perspectives. It's just such a really, really good album. And all I could think about was one song in particular. Well, two songs in particular, but one stood out the most. Where it's called "Who You Turn Out to Be," and all I can hope is for Rhaegar to be in any future children that we have, that God blesses us with. All I can hope is that we raise great children, great human beings that contribute to society. That's my number one goal as their father. The rest is extra. If he turns into a hunter, if he turns into a fisher, if he turns into an outdoors person, that's just the bonus on top. Do I want that? Of course. Selfishly, whatever, I would love for him to do that. And that's why we're exposing him to all of this early on, and we want him to be a part of it. We want him to enjoy it. We want him to find joy in it. And so for that side of it, selfishly, yes. And then selfishly for my side, it's just, I may have said this before or not, but since I was a kid, this may sound silly, but it's true. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a father. Now that I have the opportunity to be a father, now that I am a father, to be able to share these experiences and share these different things that bring me joy with my son, to give him different exposures to life and have him do things or have him participate in things that, Lynn talked about humbly bragging. I will humbly brag this. Rhaegar has done more things in 13 months of life than I would say a lot of kids, 95% of the kids his age have done. He's gone fishing. He's gone shed hunting. He's gone hiking multiple times. He's gone to archery shoots. He's gone to the gun range. He's gone hunting. Vegas. He's gone to Vegas. He's gone to Mexico. He's moved from Texas. Born in Texas, moved halfway across the country. He's gone to California. He's done cooking. He's done cooking. He's done cleaning. He helps out with dishes. He's done gardening. Anything that we can do to help him learn a skill or gain different perspective or just expose him to, we do. It's just amazing. I may be rambling on here, but I just want to emphasize and really drive home the point of how happy I am and how much this trip, this hunt, this meant to me, and what it means for anything in the future that we do together. I know that I may fail at a lot of things in my life and I may mess up in a lot of things in my life, but I can guarantee that being a father is not one of the things that I mess up in. I believe and I know that I'm a great father. I believe and I know that I encourage my son and I want him to be better, and that I want him to do more things than I do, to have more experience and more exposure in different things than I had from an early age, because he is my future. He is my legacy. Him and any future children are our legacy, and I want them to just have those opportunities in life. Yeah. And I will get off my little soapbox there.
Well, I think that's a good way to end it. And you are a great father, and the fact that you take your time, to have patience, to take him out there and not, even though you're like selfishly a lot throughout this, you're not being selfish because you're taking him out there and really changing the dynamic of a hunt, because we do have to adjust it. I mean,
there was a lot of adjusting.
Yeah,
there was a lot.
We have to pack a lot of extra stuff. We have to be really sensitive to when he's taking naps, and it changes the game of hunting. It's not like when we could just go and hunt 24/7 and be there and driving back like at 3 a.m. if we needed to. So the fact that you just let him join and you adjusted your hunting and you were still able to get one with archery, which is awesome, is like really important, and he'll recognize that as he's older.
I appreciate that. And I will say, the entire time I did not lose my cool with him once. There was a couple times he was crying. There was a couple of times he was just being very fussy. I did not lose my cool with him once. I understood when he needed to take a nap. I understood what I needed to change, like you mentioned, when I needed to change my hunt or needed to change aspects of my hunt or whatever I was doing in that moment to focus on him and accommodate him. At the end of the day, he is still a baby, right? He's still 13 months, and there's still a lot of things that he cannot do. There's still a lot of things that we have to help him with. And so it was just a different hunt at the beginning. Very normal, like what I'm used to. You were there, it was great. But then it slowly transitioned to a different hunt, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It was amazing.
Your patience has gotten much better. He's doing a good job of learning that patience of a baby can't talk. They get grumpy over the slightest thing, and you can't always be mad at them.
But I'm so excited. Okay, super quick side comment. I'm so excited for this duck season because I gave him a duck call about a month and a half ago, and he's just been practicing in his own way. Sometimes he blows it off the wrong end. But the fact that he is going to have a bigger part to play, I should say, in this in this season, I'm just so excited for that journey and and those stories and those memories to be created. Because he'll see me duck call, he'll see his grandpa duck call, and then he'll try and duck call, and it's just, I can already imagine it in my head. I can already envision it, and I'm just very excited for it.
We're going to put him in the boat, too, with the decoys so he can help drop him out, because he'll be able to actually interact and do that now, too. So we'll have a little camo life vest on him or something. But that was my favorite thing when I was a kid, is I got to sit in the boat because you're so tiny, you don't weigh a lot, and you with the decoys, so you just drop him out. And we're going to teach him that, and because putting decoys out is my favorite part of duck hunting, because I can't hit anything to save my life. So I like to wade out in the water and play, so that will be really fun too. It's gonna be
a good time. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. So there's gonna be more hunting, more outdoor stories throughout this podcast. I think it just really relates. It really relates to what our goal is, right? Our goal is to give advice on relationships and build better relationships with the people around you, with the people in your life. To grow.
Be better.
This advice, okay, you don't have to be a hunter, you don't have to be a fisherman, you don't even have to be an outdoorsman, but I think when we break it down, the important takeaways that I want you to take from here are your life as a father or as a mother. If you have a child, okay, it's going to look a little different, but it doesn't have to look completely different. You can still do the things that you love. Just be intentional and understand that there's going to be some adjustments. Understand that it's going to look a little bit different, and be okay with that. Your kids want to participate in what you're doing. They want to be a part of it. They want to help out. And even though Rhaegar may not communicate with words, like clear words, what he wants to do, he points and he knows and he tries. And he helps out, and he just gets so excited, and so he wants to be involved with what we're doing. And so
they don't know the difference between games and chores either. So they just want to have that time with you, interacting with you. So I put Rhaegar in his little cooking stool and have him at the counter with me, even though I give him like a spoon to hold or barely touching a lot of the stuff. Like if I'm working with raw meat and stuff, he just wants to be next to you. He doesn't know that the spoon isn't a toy. Like he just is having fun. And another thing, your kid is your biggest investment ever. Like that is your legacy you're putting forward. That is who's going to take care of you when you're old. That is like pushing your name like down the line. So your child is your biggest investment you're ever going to have. Like bigger than money, bigger than stocks, bigger than real estate, anything. Bigger than your house. That is your long-term investment, so you need to make sure you're taking that seriously and using your time wisely with them.
And so that's the second point I was going to make, is that these moments, right, they go by quickly. If you are a parent that has older children, you already know this. If you're a newer parent, you may have already heard this. If you're in the stage where we're at, you know this. Time goes by very fast. And so take a moment to live in the present and spend time with your kids and enjoy being with them. Like when we got back, we, were processing the deer, and there was a couple of other chores that had to get done. But I remember at one point, and Lynn can attest to this, we had a huge playpen for him. I just went in there with him and sat down and laid down with him, and he was just running around, and he would jump on me, and he would try and say his words, and then he would like grab something and bring things to me to play with him, and it was one of the best hours I've ever invested in my life, just to him. Like we had the TV on as a background, but I wasn't even watching it. I was focused solely on him. My phone was off to the side. Like I was just present with him, and I know that is going to continue to lay the foundation for the relationship that we're going to have. Not that I'm trying to be his best friend, because that's a whole different conversation that we'll get into later on. I'm not trying to be his best friend. I don't want to be his best friend. I want to be his father, and I want him to always see me as his father. I want him to always know that I'm there to spend time with him, and be there for him, and to help him, and to just love him and be with him. So, yeah, I mean, that, again, the other part, the comment I made about being their best friend, that's a whole different conversation we'll have later on. But I know that these interactions are continuing to pave and deepen that foundation in our relationship between father and son.
Yeah, and all the little things we're doing, including that deer hunt, that's just setting him up for normalizing that and getting to see those memories. Obviously, he probably won't remember it, but we'll have photos to show him, and we're just going to keep doing that until that's something that is regular and normal, and he will appreciate that, down the road too.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, there was a lot thrown there. So last thing, and we'll wrap up with this, because I do want to say, hey, for those of you that were curious, I need to post on my social media today, but again, we mentioned at the very, very beginning, low service. We mentioned it throughout the podcast. There was very little to no service where we were hunting. So the thing that I was doing with 75 Hard of posting my progress every single day, I didn't get a chance to do that. I'm going to do a compilation of all the days that we were out, and just highlight the hunt and how it went, and some pictures and some videos and things like that. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm still on track. We're both still on track with 75 Hard.
Day 26.
We stayed intentional. We're on day 26. Today's day 230 for me for cold plunging every single day. 230, 231. But we stayed intentional. One time, actually, while we were out hunting, we got back super late from camp. I think it was Saturday night. And my dad and I plunged in the little creek right next to our camp at like 9 to 9:30 at night. It was cold. It was snow melt, but it was still a lot of fun. Stayed intentional, still got it done. So real quick update for me. I'm still below 200 pounds. I'm at when I weighed myself this morning, 197. Nice. So still making good progress. I'm still feeling really, really good. I did a lot of physical activity this week while we were hunting. And so I definitely burned a lot of calories there. I finished Other People's Money by John Kay. Interesting read. Definitely a more difficult read for me. And in the future, I do want to go back and reread it and just try and understand it more. It's a financial book. Increase my financial literacy, but it's more on, how do I describe it? Like it's written by, like, I think he was an investor. He was a banker. Let me double check here. Oh, he was a professor at London School of Economics in Oxford. And so he talks about the crash, a little bit about the Great Depression, but then he talks about the crash of '08, the dot-com bubble, and just how, I guess for lack of a better word, how financial institutions have gone away from their original goal was to help people, and now it's more about helping themselves, and how that contributed to financialization and contributed to like the economic downfall and things that we're experiencing now, and it just gave a different perspective on like people and some names that I'd never even heard about. Talked about Goldman Sachs, talked about Bank of America, talked about Citigroup, And so, like I said, it was just a different style. It was a different read, so it was a little bit more difficult for me. But I still picked up some good knowledge and some good gems from here. So if you're into those kinds of books, I recommend it. I think you'll get some good perspective. Again, Other People's Money by John Kay. Originally, what I thought was this was going to be a book about knowing how to raise funds and raise capital for different projects or different businesses. And it does talk a little bit about that, but it was mainly more about, it was more of a financial history book. But again, still good. Now the book I've transitioned to is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. David Goggins is one of the most, if not the most mentally tough person on earth. And I've followed him for years. I love his stuff. It's ironic that I've never fully read his book. I've read parts of it, and so now I'm going to read it from front to cover or cover to cover, and then I'll read his other book afterwards. But excited to learn more about his story and read his book.
Nice. Well, I'm on the same track as Alex, day 26. I have finished UOU by Eric Thomas, and now I'm reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
One of the best books ever written.
It is a really good book, and it gives very... I was in the middle of reading my 10 pages here, but then we recorded, so that's why it's like that. And I'm a page folder, so sorry, everyone who hates that. Alex has a nice bookmark over there. This book's all tattered with bent pages.
If you're a Big Bang Theory person, you'll understand that episode and laugh.
Yeah, but it's actually a pretty good book. I'm honestly not the best people person, and my people skills have never been very good, like communication. So I'm going to try to see how I can utilize these steps. I'm definitely not reading it how the author says to read it. He said he has like a list of like 6 or 7 rules in the book, but one of the first ones is to read the chapter casually, then go back and reread it before you go to the next chapter. So every chapter you have to read twice. So chapter 1 twice, then you go to chapter 2. So I'm not doing that per se, but I am like taking notes and marking things that I'm finding helpful. So that's been pretty interesting to kind of just see, because he was a professor and like taught a lot of different seminars and stuff. So it's cool to see that perspective on how to influence people, because it sounds like kind of manipulative, but it's also like how people work, which is interesting. I just don't know. I'm not that kind of person. Yeah, so it's different for me.
Another book, not similar, I guess. Different, but similar, but different. 48 Laws of Power.
Oh,
That's another book you should read. Really good book.
I saw that when we were going through the books.
Yep, really good book. But okay, cool. Well, no, I'm glad that things are going well. You're feeling confident, feeling good.
Yeah, I'm a little tired of 75 Hard, but now it's more like I just need to finish it.
So. Yeah, now it's
it's a
like
pride
duty.
thing.
It's a pride thing. To
pride,
get it done.
ego thing. Yeah, I'm just like, I need to get it done.
I know I mentioned that I want to go through the Live Hard program. I probably won't do the Live Hard program this year. Like, I will complete 75 Hard this year. But then next year, I will have a better game plan for how I'm going to do the Live Hard program. It takes a full year, pretty much, to do that program. And so, one thing that I learned, it's difficult, at least the style of diet that I chose and different things because I gave up bread. In my diet, I can have bread, but bread is my kryptonite, if you will. And so if I have it, I snack on it like all day long. And carbs, a lot of carbs like that are bad for you, or at least for me, they really bloat me a lot. So I gave up bread. I realized in my hunting trip that it is very difficult to have like snacks and be full from all the calories and energy that I'm burning without a lot of like bread or carbs like that. And so
you can't like sandwiches or even a wrap because you can't have a tortilla or sandwich bread. Yeah,
so it was an interesting journey. I learned a lot. So I have one more hunt coming up where Lynn and Rhaegar won't be joining for this one because it's a more difficult hunt in Colorado. It's my first time going, so that was really the biggest reason why I didn't want them to go. Is it's a new area for me, new state, first time hunting out of state, and I didn't want that pressure on top of the pressure I'm already having for the hunt, and I want them to be safe. So yeah, it's just going to be me and my dad, and super excited for that. So I have that coming up in a couple of weeks, and look forward to it.
Yeah, and we'll definitely meal prep and not procrastinate packing for
Yes,
that one.
no,
Because
no,
that
no.
one you have to be prepared for.
Actually, I'm pretty much already packed, so we're good to go.
That's good. Because that procrastination packing. I just went to bed that night. The night when we were supposed to leave, I was like, yeah, I don't like what I see here. Good night.
Yeah,
and I just went
she
to
did.
bed because he
She
had
left me.
everything sprawled out across my clean home. And I was like, okay, bye.
She left me, but it's all good. It's all good. I'll learn. I'm learning my lesson slowly,
is,
painfully but slowly.
Yeah,
but learning it.
he just likes to. It has to hurt him first to fully learn it, you know.
Yeah, they say that's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you so much again for spending time with us. Hopefully, everyone has continued to shatter their limits and ascend, and things have been going well. We are happy to be back, and we're going to be continuing to come up with, have different topics, there's some ideas that we have for the podcast that we're not necessarily ready to share just yet, but we're working on them on the back end. Just know that we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you rocking with us. We appreciate you being with us weekly. And again, you can find us on social media. You can leave us suggestions, leave us comments, leave us ideas. We want to hear from you guys and we want to interact with you guys. So I did change my handle on Instagram. That could be a separate episode or a separate conversation.
I'll
but
put it in the description.
Yeah, my handle now is @OutdoorSaying, and there's a whole story behind that, but it's no longer @Village Hidden in the Marsh. It's @OutdoorSaying, and our podcast Instagram handle is @eNVgrowth Podcast. Mm-hmm. Right, and as in NV, like letter N, NV, and then growth podcast.
Yeah.
So,
and I'll have that in the description.
yeah, she'll throw it in the description, but. Until next time, as always, go out there, shatter your limits and ascend, have a phenomenal week, and God bless. Bye.
Bye, guys.